By the way, explain that.
Yeah.
That Pope is not running this election.
No,
It's run
unfortunately,
by the county.
as Rudy said, the county registrar in Norwalk is handling this election, and of course the ballots have to make their way all the way down to Norwalk. That's an hour drive even without traffic. And then, of course, we don't have the communication that we have with the city clerk's office, who always does a very professional, very first-rate job. Jimmy, let me ask a couple questions about Iranian-American voters. And, of course, this was an issue in your first race. Many first-time Persian voters came out to vote for you, and then, of course, later to vote for you as the first Persian mayor. What are the challenges involved in getting Iranian-Americans to vote, to actually cast a ballot, and also to get involved in the political process? What is your take?
I heard that question. Let me interrupt a little bit.
Sure.
The percentage of Iranians voting traditionally is almost the same as the rest of the community.
Okay, but
very
there's no doubt.
It isn't.
Right.
It isn't really. I mean, there's a perception. And I agree with
Right.
you that but it isn't true. The Iranian voters turn out in almost the same numbers as the rest of the community, and both of those percentages are low. The Iranian community votes at 28 to 30%. Right. The rest of the community, the non-Iranian community, votes at 28 and 30%.
Right. So how do we get more Iranians to vote?
I didn't mean to interrupt your question.
No, you have a very good point to correct that, because there are people that think Iranians are not involved, they don't vote and all that. I think what got me the first time was I had to work harder to get them to register. A lot of people were not familiar.
They were just reluctant to register.
Just reluctant to register. Once they registered, I had to get them to come out and vote, and then agree that if they didn't vote absentee, come and vote in person. This time was a little different. This time there was it was a two-sided edge knife I had. On one side, I had two other Iranians that were running, Iranian Americans that were running,
on the same ballot.
Which excited the Persian community, and more would come. At the same time, I wouldn't get as much of their votes because they would divide it up. But I much rather having more Iranian running or Persians, American running, than having one, because that excited the group, everyone to come out and vote. So I think getting them to come out and more vote, it has to be some issues that they resonates with them. And in this time, it obviously resonated with them that if we do get the other person involved, then he might also be a mayor. So it resonated with them that we want to have the first. And if that first was important, so anytime we get something for them to come and do the first, they do take pride in that. But they are just as hard on an incumbent than non-Persians.
Jimmy, we've got time for one more question before we have our next guest. But let me just ask you very briefly. You just got back from New York. We know a very successful trip to New York. Can you tell us just very briefly what was the New York trip like for you, and what did you learn about the city as a result of that trip?
It was really exciting because this is the first time that two mayors met. All other times we go out. This time, Mayor of New York invited me and Michael Bloomberg. We spent 2 hours together. He asked about smart city. I talked about that, and he talked about 311.
What is your name?
That was an exciting part because that's the first time we elevated it to that level. The other part was that we were able to go to New York Stock Exchange, see that. I went where Washington was inaugurated. To me, those were touching moments for me. Talking to CEOs and talking to a lot of those, any mayor would have done that. And
excuse me, I want to make sure I
the
understand.
exciting part that we elevated it to talk mayor to mayor now is it's not just business to business.
What an experience it was.
It was exciting.
What do we have coming up to council next couple weeks? Anything else?
Very exciting. Tomorrow night,
the second bulletin won't be until 9 o'clock?
One, a report on New York, but I'll have
this is tomorrow night, right?
Yes.
Thank you, Adrian.
Right. This is coming tomorrow, Wednesday. The reason we moved it, the council meeting, from tonight to tomorrow night, so
because we're here, right?
We would not really. We moved it from Tuesday to tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, two big issues. One is William Morris is coming for the first time in front of City Council, but because I came back from New York, I requested, and other City Council requested, we want a detailed discussion of what went on, and in this one, there were a couple of other issues that we'll have to discuss it to the City Council, the issues of who has the priority and who has the ownership of that trip. Is it the city or is it the Chamber of Commerce? So there is a discussion of that. I'm going to ask the City Council to bring that up, to discuss that. First time we're going to discuss it. Then I'm also going to ask the City Council to consider possibility of seeing if we need to audit any monies that we're giving to the chamber and all that, to figure out if our money is spent well and all that. So those are additional things that I'm going to do that. I've been asked by people what's going to happen. I don't know, but I'm going to do that.
There's no problem in the joint powers agreement. When does it come up again for review?
No, I wasn't talking about you're talking about chamber.
Yeah.
No, I know, but I'm asking about joint powers agreement.
Oh, you moved to joint power agreement. No, I don't see any big problem at all on the joint powers agreement with the
do
school.
we have a 2-year agreement now or a
I think
one-year?
I thought it was a 4-year, but I think it's coming up for renewal next year.
Okay.
So
let
we
me take
approved it.
an editorial comment, and then we're going to say we have guests, and we're going to talk about the election a little bit. The mayor is a little bit ahead of the curve, and quite wisely so. When they're talking about rerouting the subway down Santa Monica instead of Wilshire, the first person to voice some concerns about that was our mayor. Thanks for saving those who live north of Santa Monica, and for the churches and for the community itself. So you're doing good work.
For your information and the community information, the 2-hour parking is coming back to City Council on the 13th. And as you know, we have already approved 2-hour free parking for all residents. But there is questions whether we should extend that to non-residents, to the businesses.
You should have stopped while you had me there, Jimmy. You lost me on that one, but that's all right. You know, I don't agree with the resident. Well, that's another show another time.
It's already passed, but now we're going to discuss it on the 13th, whether we should go citywide.
If the council meetings last more than 2 hours, will those people be validated so we can at least have 2-hour free parking for council meetings?
Interesting part, the 2-hour parking at the city hall
is still there.
It's always been 2 hours.
Okay.
On
And
that
even
note,
if it's more than 2 hours, you get validation.
we're going to thank you, Mr. Mayor, for coming to
you.
join us. Thank you very much. And we're going to have our next guest come on. Thank you.
Thank you for all
You're not
your
running
work.
tonight. I wish you good luck. But there's
Thank you.
maybe in 4 or 3 years, 3.5 years. Okay, Rudy, we're going to have a little time while we're waiting for our next